Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi.
Did I miss those ratings?
Many people are saying it. Many people, they tell us, they say, what a great press row show, what a great pregame, intermission, postgame. They come from all over. People listen to it on their way home, in the car. And as we met at that guy, Joe and his wife at the last game, as soon as he gets home, he goes back, he listens to pregame, intermissions, and postgame. Welcome to the Press Row Show. I'm Russ Joy. This is Anthony SanFilippo. And down at the end, a man who you hear on 97.5 The Fanatic, a man who you read in the Associated Press, that, of course,
Not in the Associated Press,
I'm sorry.
for the Associated Press.
Right. Listen, I call it in for, it's just a preposition. Kevin Cooney. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up. Give it up for Kevin Cooney.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
It's great to have you, Kevin. So here we go. We got Flyers and Carolina Hurricanes tonight. Flyers coming off of a very disappointing 7-4 loss to the Anaheim Ducks. And now have to face a really good team, and it's the return of Tony DeAngelo.
Wow, a big milestone night here.
Big one here tonight. I think they're going to pack him in to see Tony D.
I can't wait to see the welcome back Tony video.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're going to put on the board.
If they have a welcome back Tony DeAngelo video, I swear I will walk off the set for a first intermission.
I will also want them to show torts if that is played, and to count the amount of curse words probably coming out as well.
Hey, let the record show, Italian-American, I can make this joke. Do you, Halloween's tomorrow. Do you know what Tony DeAngelo's going as?
Oh, no, what?
A gabagool! Gabagool!
That's not good.
It's fantastic.
Dude, you and your dad jokes are like getting out of control.
Anyway, welcome into the Press Row Show.
5 years ago, if I would have told that joke, you would have made fun of me, and now you're doing it because you got 4 kids.
That's true. Now, I know that people are excited about the return of Tony DeAngelo. They're screaming from the rafters. We got Tony D jerseys everywhere. No, we don't. I'll tell you what is happening tonight. People, they're already in the comments on YouTube and on Facebook, and I'm sure on Twitter as well. The return of Morgan Frost to the lineup tonight, gentlemen. Let's get into it, Anthony. What led to the return of the man who some are saying is a 1C if given the chance, Morgan Frost?
What led to his return?
Yes.
The fact that they gave up 7 goals and lost to the Ducks.
Doesn't hurt.
That's the reason that he's back in.
Yeah.
Like they were waiting for a game for him to, for the team to finally, hit the skid there after playing really well. And so he gets back into the lineup. Ryan Poehling is the guy that comes out. Surprised me a little bit that that's the move that they make, but I get it. I understand it. I don't necessarily know if that benefits your third line to have Scott Lawton down on the 4th line, but that's okay. I guess we'll see how it pans out. But boy, Morgan Frost, Kev, comes into this game after sitting for 6 in a row. Dude better make an impression.
Yeah, because obviously, look, somewhere along the line he's ended up on the coach's wrong side, and the idea that you can get this shot to kind of prove your way back in the lineup, kind of what DeAngelo didn't do last year in a lot of ways. He has a shot, Morgan Frost has a shot to do tonight. And look, I find it interesting that the Flyers have kind of leaked out there. There was a couple of reports today that they're not interested in moving Frost. They're not looking at him as possible trade bait here anytime soon. So you got to make this work. And if you're not going to make it work, it's better to find out right now. So I personally believe big night for Morgan Frost, bigger night for the organization, though, because they need him to play well if they are going to count him into their plans or if they're going to move him.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to move him anytime soon. And I think what you heard today was the message that they want to get out there, so it makes it seem like they still really like the kid.
Right.
So him missing 6 straight games doesn't tank his value. So that's the message they got out. And look, I mean, even if he comes out and he does not play well and he struggles for the next 3 weeks to a month, it's not going to change when he would be traded.
No, but it would change his value, you would think.
Of course it would. It absolutely would change his value. That you are correct.
I was on the elevator a few hours ago coming up to get things on the setup here. And there was a member of the media, respected member of the media, who's done this for quite a long time. And there was also a person who will remain nameless who is on one of the broadcasts, radio or TV, I won't say which one, it was not Bundy. And I heard the person who does the broadcasting say, well, Morgan Frost didn't do anything wrong, and he played well, and he played well in the preseason, and he'll continue to play well, all that. And I looked at him like, no, that's not exactly the truth. That's not the case. And then the media they went back and forth a little bit. And they kept talking and talking. And as we got to where the coffee is, I turned around and looked at them both and said, what the hell does it matter? He's not going to be here at the trade deadline. So what are we even bothering talking about? And I mean it with no disrespect. But Morgan Frost, I don't believe, barring some incredible performance from now until January, consistent against good teams and bad teams alike, I just don't see him being part of this team going forward, if for no other reason than the fact that he clearly has not made a good impression with this head coach.
And this is a head coach that if you don't make a good impression, Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong, if you don't make a good impression, you don't get a second chance a lot of times.
That's
either.
true.
You end up in the doghouse, you are in the pound pretty much for good.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question. I mean, you look at what he did. I mean, he was obviously in the doghouse last year, came back and played well at the end of the season, had 2 bad games, along with several other players this year.
Yeah.
But those other players who had bad games, they had a little bit more equity than he did. So they stayed in the lineup, and he did.
At some point, all right, I'll ask you guys. At some point, does upper management have to go to the head coach and say, play him, just let him play, and kind of take some of that power away from Torts, that he doesn't let his personal feelings towards a player necessarily get in the way?
I don't necessarily think that upper management is opposed to this.
Okay.
So that's why I sit there and say, I mean, I know what they put out there publicly. I think that there's things that there are things that are said in the press conference room in Voorhees, and then there are things that are said outside of the press conference room in Voorhees. And I will tell you that I'm pretty certain that they are completely on board upstairs with what Torts has done with Morgan Frost.
The one thing that I think everybody needs to keep in mind is that, assuming that what we've heard for quite a while, that the team is open to moving Frost at some point, you can't move a player who's consistently scratched. You need to try to build up some kind of value. And I do wonder if we're going to see Tortorella employ the idea of, if he doesn't believe that Frost is a good player against good teams, do we see Tortorella rotate him in and out of the lineup based on the opposition in an effort to try to showcase him? In that if Morgan Frost is able to rack up points against bad teams, and it's still viewed as, he's in and out of the rotation, it's still better than not playing him at all. I have a feeling that Tortorella just does not want this guy to continue to get exposed against good teams. But something does have to give. You're tying Briere's hands in every possible way if he doesn't play.
For sure. I mean, you don't want there's only so many games you can have him sit out before the value is tanked. That is a certainty. But I think that the message was, look, we can play well without you. You aren't necessarily integral to us playing a certain way. And you see other people are willing to do what we're asking you to do that you're not doing. So now when we bring you back in, show us that you're willing to do what we're asking you to do, that these other players are willing to do. I think that's the message more than anything else at this point. I did notice, by the way, Russ, that Susan checked in from Houston. And I was just wondering if that city is also wondering what would have been different if they would have just won a baseball game on Sunday tonight.
Well, tonight would have been different in this part of the world.
It's Sports Equinox tonight.
It would have been.
It's Sports Equinox tonight, right?
I will say one thing on the Frost, and I'll use a baseball story to compare it.
It's like how I teed you up for that, too,
exactly.
Right?
Charlie Manuel used to talk about you eventually know what it takes to be a big leaguer. And the guys who hit he would always rattle off all these numbers. Guy who doesn't hit 225, all that. They're not everyday big league players. And we found out later it was always John Mayberry's stats.
Yeah. Yep.
So I almost wonder if you put the truth, not that you need to put Torts on truth serum, I almost wonder if that's the way he approaches Morgan Frost, in the same kind of light of this guy is not a big-time NHL player.
That's great. That's a great story. That's a good comparison.
Sean Mayberry Jr. had a lot of tools, all right? They just weren't very good.
By the way, you got to get to Allison because we've had people check in from interesting spots.
If you're new to the show, thank you, welcome, all that. But as we tend to do, we like to pull up comments on the screen from YouTube and from Facebook. If you're on Twitter, we love you, we appreciate you, we think you're great. We can't pull your comments up on the screen, so head over to YouTube. Okay? Sorry, Twixter, X. One thing we like to do is see where people are checking in from. We have Eric Did It is checking in from Finland, is going to watch the game tomorrow. We had people checking in from Norway and Sweden last game as well. Did you pull it up, intern Andrew?
No, he didn't. Allison.
Oh, my God.
Allison.
What do we pay him for?
I know, right? So, Allison, the reason I wanted you to pull up Allison's is...
No! Sure.
Have you got any Northeast Philly yet?
You're in the box.
Yes.
In the penalty box. 2 minutes. 2 minutes for commenting. Allison says, watching for my daughter's dance class. Hopefully we'll be able to see the third period, so relying on Snow the goalie to keep me updated.
We'll do our best, Allison, but my favorite part about that is she's watching it from dance class.
That's right.
Right?
How can Allison keep up with it? Like, just assume that somebody doesn't have access to the game, Anthony. How can they keep updated on what's happening in the game?
Well, if you stay on the YouTube stream here, we put up the Gamecast in between. You can't actually watch the game, but you can follow along statistically. And then I say follow us on X, Twitter, Twixter, where we will constantly give updates about what's going on in the game. So that's what you should do.
That's good job.
And I like that. The reason I wanted to mention that she was checking in from her daughter's dance class is we're now not only getting the unique locations as far as cities, towns, countries that people are checking in from, but we're getting unique locations as in like specific places. Like when we had someone check in from a plane that they were listening to us. So now she's checking in from dance class. I'm curious. I want to hear those too because I think those could be just as much fun.
We've got SoCal. We have people all over. Hey, I want to get to this one though because this is good.
Dusty's in Winston-Salem.
Matthew says Frost gets the Trey Turner treatment. Will there be a standing ovation for Morgan Frost tonight? And will it propel him to a 3-point game? 610-632. Go ahead. Let's go to you.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No, look, Trey Turner, Trey Turner thing didn't work out in the end, did it?
Oh, great. But they didn't tell us there was an expiration date on that. They didn't warn us. We didn't read the fine print.
It didn't read the fine print of like October 23rd as the expiration date.
Yeah, I know.
I just loved when like 6 different people were trying to take credit for it.
Well, let's be honest. Jack Fritz is the guy who came up with the idea first.
Philly Captain's going to come after you. Gargano's going to come after you. Who else was it that was trying to claim for it? Anyway.
Holliston, Mass for Michael checking in. Thanks, Michael.
We have Florida. We have the East Coast covered. We have the West Coast covered.
North Carolina.
We have the Midwest covered. We've got Europe. It's great.
Oh, and we got the guy Matthew who checked in from a place that you thought was in Greece. It turns out it's in Northumberland County, PA.
Haxinos. Yeah, Haxinos sounds like
somebody
it's
from
a beautiful
Knobles.
town in Greece.
Right outside of Knobles.
Yeah. Oh, I love Knobles. If you've been to Knobles, drop in the comments below your favorite ride at Knobles. In the meantime,
Carter Hart's in that tonight.
Carter Hart's back.
Yeah.
Which presumably means the Flyers won't give up 7 goals tonight. But I wanted to know from you guys, what do you think in terms of what Carolina's a good team? We expect that they're going to play a more defensively sound game, that being the Flyers. What do you expect to see happen in this first period? Do we think that Torts is going to have these guys ready to play tonight? Is there the chance that there's going to be a mental lapse off the get-go? What say you?
I would say that I think there'll be a little bit of a tentativeness early. I think because the other day they were so flat. They came out just brutally flat. Goal 57 seconds in. Urson, look, I get that Torts was trying to defend Urson the other day, and the defense wasn't great in front of him, but there were a couple of those that he should have stopped. I think that you'll see a little bit of a tentativeness. If you get through the first 10 minutes without giving a goal up, I think you'll see a team that looks more like Thursday night than you did on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, the one thing I want to say is that you got to keep in mind that there's, they're playing without Pesce. He's obviously he's out with an injury. Anderson's in goal tonight. Technically, they're 1A between the two goalies, 1A, 1B with Antti Ranta. Anderson hasn't looked great so far this year.
No.
No, I was just pulling up his numbers. I knew he hadn't looked great, but
Hit the people with the stats, Anthony.
Yeah, well,
What you got?
I wanted to. That was the thing. Where's it at? Oh, I just lost it. There he is. Even though he's 3-0, he hasn't lost a game. 338 goals against, 875 save percentage.
Not great.
Not great. So the Flyers, if they forecheck like Torts wants them to forecheck, they can actually create some opportunities and maybe catch a goalie that's struggling at the right time, and maybe get a couple of goals that you don't think you're going to get against a team like Carolina, who's normally a good defensive team.
And look, they played well on the West Coast, well, on that trip against Dallas and Vegas, two teams that you would put in the same cup caliber. Obviously, Vegas won it, as necessarily Carolina, as a team that can win a cup. So maybe that's a good sign if you want to look at tonight.
I just wanted to make a little note here to the fine folks who are out there who might be joining us for the first time. We've got the pregame show here. Intermissions, Bundy joins us, which is always a lot of fun. We do postgame. It's myself and Bundy, while Ant goes down to the locker room, assuming they win tonight, which obviously everyone hopes they will, all those fine Flyers fans out there. Anthony will go get a player interview. We had Bobby Brink after the 2-goal performance. And as Ant was saying, Game Center updating the stats throughout the game, so make sure you check it out and you stay here on the official stream.
And if they lose and I don't get a player, which is not, it doesn't have to be a win. Win's pretty much a lock. You're going to get a player.
Win or a close loss.
If it's a close loss, I still think I get a player. If they get waxed like they did Saturday, you're probably going to have me sitting in the second row holding my phone up to get Torts' post-game presser. So one or the other you're going to get.
Kevin, I want to go to you with this. So Konechny's got 8 goals on the season.
Second most in the league.
Yeah. We said earlier this week, I guess this weekend, all the days are blending together now. On Saturday, we said he really is like the heartbeat of the team. As he goes, so goes the team. Team's playing well. He's feisty. He's causing mayhem. Things are good. When the things aren't going so well, sometimes he disappears a little bit. Not great. He's got 8 goals, second most in the league. What have you seen out of Travis Konechny beyond just the goal scoring itself?
I just like the way he's jumped into the play. Now he took it hard the other day about the turnover that led to the goal that basically broke the back in the third period the other day, the turnover at the blue line. But he has been. Look, they don't really have a C, obviously.
Yeah.
To me, he's been their C on the ice. He has been the guy who has given him energy. A lot of what you've seen rotated around has been because of Konechny. It's going to be fascinating. We were talking about Frost earlier. Obviously, the rumors are going to fly about Konechny as we get close to the trade deadlines too.
Yeah.
But he's put him and the organization in a really good spot as we get deeper and deeper towards that.
I think it's gonna be interesting how they handle Konechny, because
at some point you got to keep somebody.
Well, I mean that becomes the question, guys. Like, at what point do they think that they're actually going to be a contender?
Yeah.
And if they think that they're going to be a contender with what they have and what's coming, and you get one more high draft pick, whatever. If they feel like that's enough, do you hold on to Konechny and have him be one of your, even if he's a second line winger, and you have him be one of your, contributors, or do you feel like you still need enough other things, especially on the blue line, that you can eventually replace a Konechny through a trade or through a free agent signing when the time is right, and you can maybe bolster that blue line by getting something for him when its value is at its highest.
All right, so let's play this out. If you hold on to him, let's play this in the same way you almost had with Giroux. You almost held on to him. Obviously, there was a no movement clause, so it was different. But it was too late by the time you got rid of him. And they couldn't get anything of value for him. And plus, he also narrowed the market with just saying, I wanted to go to Florida. You don't want to get him a thing where you hold on too long. You'd rather trade somebody a year too early than a year too late.
Correct.
It may end up being that way with Konechny.
And it's a good point. I mean, but I still think it really just comes down to, hey Dan, really just comes down to where you feel your team is.
Yep.
Because the difference with Giroux was, they held on too long, but the team was nowhere close.
Right. I agree.
And so that's the difference. With Konechny, in this situation, it's like not only do we have to determine where he's at, is this the peak of his value, right? Or is he going to be this good for a few more years? and you look at it and say, well, we're getting better and better. Can he be part of it? And so I think this is a little bit more challenging for them. And not to say that you're going to get it wrong if you trade him, but it could be one that you say, the time comes, you go, damn, I wish we would have just held on to TK because he would have fit really nicely.
The old Justin Williams trade.
Yeah, exactly. So, by the way, I want to give a shout out to the iPhone. Did you see that comment earlier about how the audio was so good from the press conference?
Yeah.
All it was my simple iPhone. I didn't even have the mic extension onto it. It was just the iPhone. So
you're looking for a promotion deal, aren't you?
if Apple wants to sponsor the Press Row Show, by all means, reach out to Russ at
snowthegoalie@gmail.com.
There you go.
So here's the thing about Konechny.
Apple.
Konechny is 26, right?
Yeah.
So if you kind of play this one out, let's continue to play it out. He's 26 now. You figure within 3 years, you have Matvei Mishkov over here. You have Cutter Gauthier hopefully here and playing a meaningful role. You hopefully have whatever this year's top pick ends up being. There might be another one in there too. Who knows? Who's to say? In 3 years, he's 29.
That's what I'm saying.
But when you're good again, is he 30, 31, 32?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You have to determine what your good period. Like, do you think that you're 3 years from now a playoff team?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the point. In 3 years, when you add a Mishkov and a Gauthier and this top pick
I know where you
everything.
guys are going, and it's a fair point. I would say, though, is it fair to expect year one with those guys in? Let's say Mishkov takes the full 3 years, and there's no reason to think he won't at this point. Is it fair to assume in that first year instantly they become a playoff team? I don't think that's...
Yeah, because I think when they... my assumption, this is just me, my assumption is that when those guys are all here and playing and available, the idea is going to be that that's where you do what Jonesy's talked about, and you jump into free agency. That's when
fair.
And it might even be the year before, but that's when you go after that number one defenseman if you haven't developed him.
Did we put Susan's second comment up? Andrew, there you go.
I'm watching in a unique place. Since the Astros are out, I get to sit in the recliner.
So somebody else is not a hockey fan.
Somebody in her house typically occupies the recliner. Good for you.
That's good.
Susan,
Hopefully it was
Susan, you deserve it. You do a lot in that house, and you deserve that recliner.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wonder if she bought it at Mattress Mac's place.
Did she buy the recliner from Mattress
Mac?
He's a
That's
bum.
great.
He's a bum.
That's great.
Last year,
we can't say what he said to the Philadelphia fans on the Press Row Show.
Because the Press Row Show is a family-friendly show. But on Snow the Goalie, the Only Flyers podcast, and on the morning after when we recap road games, we can say whatever we want.
That's when the Bundy bombs come in.
That sure is.
By the way, here we have a new design that you're going to show us tonight, and we can't even talk about it.
We can't talk about it.
Oh, okay.
I will tell you that we are working on the good, the bad, and the Bundy. I can tell you that we're working on a Bundy Bomb shirt. There have been a lot of requests. We're also working on the updated logo. We can't have the part with the Flyers crest. That's part of our deal. We'd have to be a sub-licensee of the logo. We're not doing that. It's way too expensive. But we'll have more logo stuff going up as well. We have new stuff coming to, and I had it on the screen before. I'll pop it back up. We've had a lot of people buying stuff over at shop.snowthegoalie.com, your number one home for Snow the Goalie merchandise. People are buying glasses.
Is there a number two home for Snow the Goalie merchandise?
No, in your heart. In your heart.
Just wondering.
You'll be in my heart.
Just wondering.
All right. I will tell you, when it comes to Konechny, last year, because I viewed this as being a very long rebuild, right? And I thought that the previous president of Hockey Ops, Fletcher Mort, was a total Muppet and a genuine.
Is that the official term? A Muppet?
Well,
Muppet.
It's the person who shall not be named.
Fletcher Mort.
That's why he's going with Fletcher Mort.
Yeah, we don't say his actual name. Because I thought that guy was gaslighting the fans, telling them that, we're going to get back all these guys who've been injured the whole time, and we're going to surprise people, and it's an aggressive retool, not a rebuild, and gaslight everybody. Because
in other words, what the organization's done for 30 years.
Yeah, but in his case, I thought, all right, this is going to be a tank that's not meant to be a tank because I didn't think he was good at his job. And I said, you know what, if that's going to be the case, then you may as well sell off the Travis Konechnys of the world.
I remember that show.
Because it just ain't it. I didn't have any faith that they were going to be able to turn it around in 3 years. With Briere and Jones clearly stating to the public It's a rebuild. It's going to hurt, but ultimately we think we're going to build a winner. I have more faith that they can build something into 3 years from now. You say, yeah, now we're pushing all the right buttons. It's a playoff team. And within 5 years, you say, all of this development, all these guys, you go out, you get that number one defenseman, you do whatever. You say, all right, now we actually think that we can be a top 3 team in the East. Now I sit back and I go, I don't think you need to trade a Travis Konechny. I think he actually could be part of the team. The same I might not say about Cam Atkinson, who's been fantastic, who has rebounded very, very well. If there's a guy who is performing very well right now, who I think could be a target of teams closer to the deadline.
Oh, he will be.
It's a Cam Atkinson. Great guy in the locker room, very well liked by players across the league. Tortorella speaks highly of. To me, that's the guy who gets you the haul. Anthony, I know that you said you didn't think as of a few games ago that Atkinson could be a guy that gets you late first. Are we starting to trend? He keeps scoring. Are we starting to trend towards?
Well,
maybe?
it's too early to say. Although it's not too early to make a prediction, and co-host Nancy predicts a 4-2 Carolina victory tonight. That's Russ's wife.
I love her. She's fantastic.
Yeah, she checks in all the time. Yeah. And
Smart
I also
man.
I also noticed
when's
that
Maria going to check in? When's she going to check in with a
if she's look, she said she wants to come to the game Saturday. We'll see if she gets a ticket to come up here for Saturday.
You're not going to get her a ticket?
Maybe.
Let us know in the comments. Is Anthony a bad fiance for not getting his fiance a ticket? You let us know in the comments below.
Yeah, well, we got other things to talk about too there, but we'll see. No, not about that.
Anthony's in the doghouse.
No, I'm not in the doghouse.
Anthony's in the doghouse
Maria
like
may
Morgan
be
Frost
here.
and Tortorella.
She will be here Saturday. No, that has nothing to do. That's not what I meant. It has something to do with my daughter is dating a kid from Los Angeles.
Wow.
Okay. And kid, they're in their 20s. They're like mid-20s.
Is he an actor?
He's not.
Okay.
But he lives here.
So he has a job.
But he's a big-time LA Kings fan, and she reached out, and she wants to take him to the game Saturday because they're playing the Kings. And so I'm trying to get him 2 tickets to be up here.
He can't sit behind us. He can't sit.
Dude, if intern Andrew can high-five Anaheim Ducks fans...
He's not your kid!
Then my daughter can date a kid from L.A. who comes to see the game wearing a Kings jersey.
Let us know if it's a violation for Anthony to bring his daughter and the boyfriend who's a Kings fan on Saturday. I say it is.
I feel like I just went through therapy with him.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. There's a lot of unresolved stuff with this guy. Yeah. All right. We've got 7 minutes here until the game starts. We've now touched on the forwards. We've touched on the goalie. Let's talk about the blue line. Travis Sanheim had a fantastic game 2 games ago. Last game was not fantastic. Last game on Saturday looked like the Travis Sanheim of a year ago and maybe even of a year and a half ago. Not a good development here if you're a Flyers fan. Swell. But it wasn't a good game.
It was 7-3, but okay.
It wasn't a good game for him. Do you expect him to bounce back in this one? Which Sanheim are we going to get tonight, Anthony?
I think you're going to get the better version of him. I mean, look, the thing of it is that the thing that I thought about it with Sanheim was this. Anaheim, for all their warts, they have a lot of good offensive players, a lot of skill, right? So they can make you not look good if you're playing against them, and he's getting the most minutes, right? So he could have a game where maybe if he's just slightly off, ends up looking a lot worse. Whereas against a team like Carolina, who is a really good team, but is a different kind of really good team. This is a team that wins with team defense, with puck possession. They're not out there to try and dominate you offensively, right? So to me, this is a game where Sanheim can have a better game and look better just because they're not going to have all that great offense coming at you. That's all.
I would agree with that. I think the one thing that they got caught looking the other day was a lot of flat-footedness, a lot of passes across the middle in their own zone, which was awful. I think that Sanheim himself, I think he'll be able to adjust. He seems like he has it. Good game, bad game, good game, bad game, a lot. So I think tonight he's due for a good game.
Well, Kev, I know we're hitting 7 o'clock here. They're about to do the anthem in a minute. Thanks for popping on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And we'll have you back on down the road when you're here doing stuff for the AP.
Absolutely.
And where can people follow you on the X?
On the X, I'm at Kevin Cooney.
At Kevin Cooney. Boy, that's a hard one to remember.
The number 1 Cooney in the city of Philadelphia.
Don't tell Bob that, please. I need
Kevin Cooney from 97.5, the Associated Press. Thanks for stopping by to the Press Row Show here for Snow the Goal.
Show Kevin how much you appreciate him by hitting that thumbs up button. If you're over on YouTube, click that thumbs up. Remember, it's really important. Intern Andrew has to now work on the Zoom. We'll see how he does with the
Oh,
tripod.
this is the new Zoom.
Oh yeah.
The
It
new
doesn't
Zoom.
have a little thing. It doesn't have a little. You have to like do that. You have to like twist the thing. Oh, let's see if he remembers from pregame.
Oh, look at
There's-
that. Look at that.
Look at that. Okay. So, Anthony,
Yes.
we told people this. I looked over at Twitter. There were over 200 people on Twitter, in addition to the 100 whatever we're watching on YouTube and Facebook. I want to remind those people over on Twitter. We love you. We appreciate you. We think you're great. Head over to YouTube, youtube.com/@SnowTheGoalie, or you could just search for Snow the Goalie on YouTube. You can give us the thumbs up. You can comment. We'll pull your comments up on the screen. So let me ask you something.
Yeah.
You and I have gone back and forth about what we think is going to happen. We have not come up with the official prediction yet, and I just texted Bundy because usually by now you guys are harassing me with your predictions, and I don't have one from Bundy yet. As things currently stand in our unofficial Snow the Goalie point thing, you're up by 1 point.
I have 6, and you each have 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, tonight could be a big game. It could be this could be the thing that drops you out of the top, or it could see a 2-way tie at the top, or maybe even a 3-way tie at the top. Carolina's a very good team. I don't expect you to be a guy who's gutsy and takes the underdog Flyers, but I will leave that as a possibility. Folks in the comments, leave your prediction below. Anthony, what is your official prediction for tonight's game?
I think the best bet on the board, aside from betting Boston to beat Florida tonight. By the way, if you're a gambler, I suggest laying some wood on the Boston Bruins in the revenge game against the Florida Panthers tonight. But the next best bet on the board is the under in tonight's game.
Wow.
I think this is a low-scoring affair tonight. I think the Flyers struggle to find offense against Carolina, but I think Carter Hart has another really good game for the Flyers as well. I'm going to take the Hurricanes, and the final score I'm going to give you is 3-2.
Is that a regulation win? Is that an overtime?
I have a hard time picking overtime, but yeah, I'll say 3-2 in regulation.
I'm going to tell you what's happening because now the music's swelling, and you know how much I love the theatrics. The Philadelphia Flyers have absolutely no right to be in this game. The Philadelphia Flyers have absolutely no reason that they should go toe-to-toe with Carolina. They don't have the same level of scoring. They have questions on the blue line. But they have one thing that Carolina does not have, and that is Carter Hart.
Oh, you didn't give me a chance. I was going to give you the whole Wizard of Oz line.
Go ahead. They have
It's too late.
There's one thing they don't have, and that's...
No, too late.
All right.
Hart was the name.
Tonight...
A diploma. What is it? What does he say? What does the wizard
You're
say?
killing the moment.
Oh, well, because you like the theatrics, and I'm
Carter
interrupting
Hart
your theatrics.
is going to have a big game for the Flyers. He's going to have 38 saves tonight.
38!
38 saves. It's going to be a barrage. But the problem is he's going to face 42 shots. The Canes are going to win 4-3. 4-3.
Okay.
4-3.
We don't know what Bundy's update is yet.
I do think that the Flyers are going to be able to score. I think they're going to get desperate. I think the one thing that we've seen, and this is one thing that we can all kind of hold on to, is that the Flyers are not afraid to get dirty and to fight and to get in the crease and to fight for goals. Now, there are a few guys who are due. I think an Owen Tippett tonight could be due for a goal. I think that Cam Atkinson could find the back of the net again. Joel Farabee had some good looks. I think Konechny scores. I'm going to go Tippett, I'm going to go Konechny, and I'm going to go Atkinson get the goals for the Flyers. 4-3.
You know who I think is going to score a goal tonight? How about this as a outside the box pick?
What's that?
It's not even that outside the box, but it's a little bit outside the box. Because he hasn't really done much so far. And he hasn't been terrible, but he hasn't been great either.
Who's that?
Cam York.
Boy, and they just announced him. That's a gutsy call by you.
Cam York's going to score a goal tonight.
Gutsy. Okay.
Why not, right?
Okay, that's fine.
If it happens, I look brilliant. If it doesn't happen, I pick Cam York.
Yeah. All right. We will be back for first intermission, second intermission, and postgame. Don't forget, Bundy will be joining us during both intermissions, and it'll be Bundy and I on postgame as Anthony goes down below to either get the torch presser, to go talk to the players in the locker room, perhaps to get an interview after the game. Do us a favor. Again, if you're on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. It's a big help to us. If you haven't found the show before, Snow the Goalie, the Only Flyers podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back again, intermissions. Don't forget, During the first period, second period, and third period, we'll have the Gamecast updating you with the stats. So if you don't have access to the game or you want to watch something else, you can have the Gamecast up on your phone over on YouTube. So thanks to everybody who checked in. We will talk to you very soon. Now it's time for the National Anthem. Everybody, we'll talk to you in the first intermission. Here we go. Roll out to the technology. Intern Andrew, we are not off to a great start here with the first intermission. We had the game cast up. We were muted. Intern Andrew, to the box. 2 minutes.
You're going to blame Andrew. You have control of this.
Russ has been here since 10 this morning.
I know.
That's right. 2-1, ladies and gentlemen, just like we wrote it up. Philadelphia Flyers, a 2-1 lead. A late goal by Garnet Hathaway, an off-season signing, scores his first goal as a member of the Flyers, and Owen Tippett got on the board. I called that pregame. Owen Tippett. Bundy, I want to go to you first because, of course, we're happy to have you here for the first intermission. Did you see that goal coming from Owen Tippett?
I did not, but, again, when I look at the period as a whole, Flyers, I think there's periods you could say you're lucky to have a lead. That would be one of them. But at the same time, they earned their goals. They actually kind of started clamping things back a little bit the last 6-7 minutes of the first period. Good job. I mean, that Delorier shift at the end, that was unbelievable, to get the puck to Hathaway. But Owen Tippett's goal, it's a great way to get things going. And, he actually he shot a knuckleballer, and those are the worst ones for goaltenders because you have absolutely no idea where it's going to go. That got the game at 1-1, and then an amazing play by Delorier going up the ice, getting it to Hathaway in front, just chipping it by the goaltender. Was it a great period for the Flyers? No, but they have a 2-1 lead, and that was Anthony was saying before, man, they're lucky if it's 1-1 going into the first. Well, they got better than that, Ant.
Yeah, they did. They got to the 2-1. Great shift, by the way, by the fourth line there.
Yep.
The team got a little bit of juice after the Tippett goal. I feel like they played a lot better in the back end of the period there than they did the first part of the period because prior to the Tippett goal, I think they were being outshot 11-3 at that point. And really having a hard time in transition. The puck was coming right back at them. They didn't look good on the Carolina goal. Belpedio got out of position, ended up being a 2-on-1 down low, and Carter actually probably should have made the save on the shot. And then you were seeing that there was a lot of frustration because they really couldn't get the puck moving. Then you have a play where just a simple play where there's a turnover right near the blue line. Tippett makes a nice play, gets it to Coots. Coots gives a nice feedback, and he beats Anderson for the goal, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, we're in this. We can actually play this game a little bit. Let's go out there and play some hockey, and then they get another goal on by the fourth line. And hey, it's probably not how they wanted to play the period, but you're very happy you're up 2-1 after one, the way that they played early on in the period.
And here you go. I like this from FedEx Pope 223 on YouTube. Not homes have to watch the Canes broadcast. They've been remarkably complimentary of the play of the Flyers, which is interesting. You always wonder about what the other announcers are going to say, what outsiders are going to say.
Is that still Trip Tracy down there? Carolina?
I would think so.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He has a past here, correct?
Well, him and
or no?
No, I don't remember him
his
here.
color guy had.
He's been there forever. He's been doing color commentating there forever. So
okay. Yeah. All right, maybe not. I don't know. I thought there was a connection of some sort.
I'm going to bring up the stats on the screen here for a second. Andrew, can you scroll down a little bit so we can see these a little bit better? So you look at, I'll take this off there, and we'll take this one off here too. All right, so Flyers still get outshot in the period. They end up on top with goals. Face-off percentage, highly concerning if you care about face-off percentage.
Oh, it's a very important stat.
But the thing that the Flyers did that we know they have to do, we always talk about the forecheck, but the hits, the physicality, the thing that they didn't bring to the table on Saturday, they have certainly brought in spades, also giving up the body with blocked shots.
Yeah, but look at the number below that. That's not a good one.
The giveaways are bad. I'm trying to focus. I'm trying to focus on a positive here.
Period.
Listen, I'm trying to focus on a positive.
Unforced error.
An acceptable number of turnovers in a game, just so you know, Russ, is about 12.
Yeah.
About 12 is what coach. That's the most, and where they're going to start getting ticked off.
So they're on track for 15.
Yes, that would not make the coach
ideal.
happy.
But Bundy, when you saw what they put out there in terms of leading hits, leading block shots, the way that they are, does it look like they've bounced back at least from an effort perspective or from being locked in, as opposed to where they kind of looked a little bit lackadaisical, a little bit out of sorts on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean they've definitely been better. Carter Hart has been a nice upgrade in net today. He's made some key saves to really keep it at 1-0. It could have easily been 2-0 Carolina inside the first 13 or 14 minutes. And he made some saves. And that, when a goaltender does that, it allows your team to kind of breathe a little bit and to play a little bit more upbeat because your goaltender made a save, and the Flyers did capitalize that. They did clamp down a little bit, I thought, later in the period, and in transition, again, that's where they ended up scoring their goals, certainly with the second goal, but also actually both goals were transition goals from turnovers by Carolina. So I think it was a good job by the Flyers and just staying with it, and that's something that they've had trouble in the past doing, and it's good to see them bounce back in the first period because, you lose the first period, most of the time you lose the game.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what happened. So good job by them.
One thing I didn't like in the period, they only had the one power play, but Carolina has really struggled on the PK this year. They've given up 10 power play goals already. Flyers, I don't think they even really set up. I mean, their power play was invisible. And we talked a little bit about this, Bundy, is like they were getting too cute. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were trying to make plays that they don't have the skill to make.
That is correct, and that's why you have defensemen sometimes playing out of position on the power play. They don't have a real true guy that's that elite quarterback per se. They have guys doing a good job. But, Sanheim's that point guy. And, I always say, sometimes it's hard to do all three things on the ice. Penalty kill, power play 5-on-5. But, again, his salary dictates that. And for some reason, I thought the power play, we were talking about it, Anthony. I mean, they had all the space was on the weak side of the ice, and they decided for some reason to continue keeping the puck on the strong side, meaning moving down to where the checking was happening on the half boards. That's not a good power play to be executing like that. Move the puck around, flip sides, and then it forces the killers to come up. And the penalty killers, and then what happens with that is that's where you break down a penalty kill and your power play's looking for one or two opportunities, like golden opportunities in power play. Sometimes too much puck movement, I think, is not a good thing, but that's the way it goes now. A lot of these skill guys just want to hang on to that puck and wait for the perfect play. This is not the team that should be doing that. They should be getting wide open shots and getting traffic to the front of the net.
It feels like this has been a recurring theme. I mean, there are certain things that we've talked about every game, but the power play has been the same talking point every time. They're far enough into the season now where, don't you at some point have to adjust? We've had this conversation a bunch of times about, is it the system? Is it the players just, falling back on habit? You're trying to play with skill even though you don't have it? At some point, doesn't Torts then have to almost force the issue with simplify, crash the net, do the things that you can do because it's more fitting of what your skill set is?
Yeah, I think that they probably do. I don't think that they're being told to be too cute. In all honesty, I think that they're saying get shots on goal. I mean, the way that they have it set up, I mean, they're putting a body in front, right? And you got guys going hard to the net there. I think what Bundy's the point he's making is and it was Cam York on that play where he has the puck, and if you wheel it back to the open side of the ice, it gets the four-man PK for the other team moving. And so once you get them moving east to west or west to east, however your perspective, then there's a pass. Maybe you make a second pass that's quick, and now you have an odd man situation on the other side of the ice, right? So if you wrap it around pretty quick, one guy, next guy, now you're creating that opportunity that he's talking about, that shot. By forcing it back into the teeth of the penalty kill, you're really hoping that you guys can make a play through bodies, and that's not always going to work, and probably is going to work less likely to work than it is going to work, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that's what Bundy's trying to say there.
There are two guys that I want to touch on here. I want to get to a positive first, and then we can get to the other one. Scott Lawton remains arguably the most versatile player on this roster in that he can play a middle six role for you, and then when needed can go down to the fourth line, center it, and not look out of place. How hard is it to do what he's done by shifting what his role is and responsibilities are as a fourth liner?
Well, I mean, he's a professional, right? So he's getting paid good money, too. He's a guy you can play up and down your lineup, like that. Yeah. I mean, you don't want him ideally on a top two, but I mean, he's on a team. It's a really good team. He's a third line guy, fourth line guy who's in his career, and I think he's a guy that you're not going to worry about moving lines. You're not going to worry about his attitude. Just a good teammate, a good guy, and I think that he's really had a very, very strong first period.
Yeah, Andrew, if you could pop up that Greg McCavity comment again about Belpedio, because I think it's worth talking about a little bit. Where it says Belpedio is just as much of a defensive liability as Andre was without the offensive upside, so why is he here? And I think we've mentioned this a couple games ago, Bundy, but it's probably worth repeating since people are asking. you do need to have a baseline to work from to play in the NHL. And Emil Andre probably is not at that baseline yet. And they gave him that, a handful of games to check it out. Let's see where he's at, and just isn't there. So he's got to go down to the AHL and play more to kind of get there.
Yeah, you don't want a guy chasing the league where, he doesn't have the best opportunity to be at his very best in this league. So, again, we talked about it. It comes down to minutes for me. If he stays here, you're going to just have a coach that's not going to have the full trust in him, and you're going to end up playing 8 or 10 minutes a night. Not by design, just because the coach isn't going to find the trust in him on the back end. So his best opportunity to continue developing properly is to go to the minors and play 20, 25 minutes a night. Make a few more mistakes. There's not as much pressure on it on a younger guy. He may not like it, but that's how you do get better, and that's how you do develop. And kudos to the Flyers for doing that. They have to make tough moves and tough decisions at times. Belpedio is certainly a guy that can, he's not a world beater, but he's going to be a guy that you can at least be serviceable while you're waiting for some of those other young guys to develop a little bit more.
Yeah, and it's not just Andre, because and there was Torts was pretty critical of the way that Adam Ginning and Ronnie Adard has started for the Phantoms. That those guys, you would think one of them would have been the next guy up, but they were not playing well enough to get the call up, so they went with more of a veteran player in Belpedio, who, like you said, isn't going to set the world on fire, but he's a more experienced player who's willing to play that role.
Yeah, and the other thing it does too is when you don't call up one of the guys that's expected, like an Adard, because he isn't playing well, it's kind of like sitting a guy out up here, because they're like, well, why is that guy called up? It forces you to play better hockey,
right? And
that's because I know they're angry. Like if I wasn't in the minors long, but I remember if someone else would get called up, it's like, why'd they get called up? But that's what everybody thinks. And also, so it's good messaging all around, because you're keeping the other guys sharp, saying, hey, you would have been called up, but you weren't good enough yet. You haven't played well enough. So we're going to call this guy up, who we know has a little bit of experience, isn't going to make a lot of mistakes. That's what they're hoping. It's a pretty good play, because you're not really mentally tormenting anybody too much.
We mentioned a little bit ago about Lawton being in the lineup down on the fourth line. Obviously, that was due in part to the necessity of getting Morgan Frost back in the lineup. Some fans were clamoring for him. They've been clamoring for him pre-game, intermissions, post-game for the last 6 games that he was scratched. He's back in the lineup tonight. What did you see out of Morgan Frost?
Not a lot.
Not a whole lot, but you know what? I'm willing to give him a period to get back in there. I mean, there's nerves. He's going to have nerves thinking, man, I've been out 6 games. The team's done okay.
Exactly.
And that's to be expected. Like, you know what? I'll give him a break here for 20. Let's see what he's got in the second and third.
I don't want to project this out negatively. If we get to the post-game, Bundy, and we still feel like he was relatively invisible, maybe it's nerves, whatever, I would assume that if that's the case, Tortorella sitting him the next game could be wildly detrimental to his mental psyche. Do we think that Torts might give a little bit of a longer leash if he doesn't show out in this game? He'll be back in next game?
I'd be stunned if he gets if he's a healthy scratch on Wednesday again.
Yeah, I mean,
what's the message then?
That's what I'm saying.
I think he gets a little bit of a run. I'm not saying that he's got a long leash, but I think he gets an opportunity.
I agree with Anthony on this one. Yeah, I mean, you can't just, because what you say is if he didn't do anything wrong or cost your team the game.
Yeah.
Let's say the Flyers win, but he didn't have a great game. How do you pull him out?
Yeah.
Because then you're just saying, well, you're our last guy, and you played because we lost last game.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be more than that.
Yeah. I just wanted to see. Okay. Let's go to the comments, because as we know, this is the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show. Although pregame's great because Bundy's on it over on the radio. But intermissions and postgame, it is undisputed. Many people are saying
when the tech is working, right?
Yeah,
that's right. When everything's going good, yeah, it's great.
Want to get to the comments though, because people who are over on YouTube and Facebook, as we always say, you can pull up your comments on the screen. If you're on Twitter, we love you, we appreciate you, and we think that you're great. We can't pull your comments up on the screen, so make sure you find us over on YouTube, youtube.com/@SnowTheGoalie, or go over to YouTube and look for Snow the Goalie, and you can find the show, and you can comment, hit the little thumbs up button, and all that. A lot of people weighing in here. I want to pull up this FedEx Pope one. The Rabid Frost fans online. True. The Rabid Frost fans online are funny. I wish them well. Let's see. I agree, Bundy. There are people who are noting that Emil Andre got hurt in the first shift with the Phantoms last night. So I'm not sure if we had an update on his injury status.
Have not heard anything. Everybody's asking about Rasmus Ristolainen.
Yeah, here you go. Risto's future, asks Octavius Rex.
Yeah, and he's not alone. There's a few people who've asked about him. There has not been an update.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him,
Yeah,
really.
it's weird because...
Is this Ryan Ellis all over again?
No, it's not that. It's far from that.
I just wanted to assuage the fans who might be concerned.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't think it's that at all. But I am a little surprised that we're not hearing anything at all at this point. I think it needs to be, the Flyers need to kind of give us something.
Yeah.
And I think it's high time we start getting that information. Maybe I'll start poking around on that and see what I can find out for
It's
everybody.
interesting because this went from there being a Risto's going to miss a game to Risto might miss a few games to like there's no end in sight to this. Like they haven't provided an update that says he's like close to playing again. So one could probably assume that he's out a few more.
So what happens?
I mean,
and what happens is what guys say, like a guy's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when a guy just gets injured for so long and you forget about him. And that was like Ryan Ellis, but I haven't heard anything about that with Risto. I don't know, but there's been very, very limited discussion about that injury. And that's why we got this guy here in the middle to dig that out.
look, there he goes. He's on the phone, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes,
He's
he
plugging
is.
away. He's like our Adam Schefter. He's much more handsome, though. Right, Anthony? Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured I'd ask. We'll
Yeah.
see what I can get.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have an update for you guys during second intermission. I don't know.
Now, as they come back out, the Flyers managed to, despite getting outshot, despite, 5 giveaways in that period, they managed to walk away with a 2-1 lead. We all picked against them, different scores. Perhaps somebody's going to take a new lead tonight. Who knows, in our unofficial predictions. What do you expect to see out of the Flyers and out of the Hurricanes in the second period? Are the Canes going to open it up a little bit out of desperation to get that tying goal, or are they going to believe in their system, play a steady period, and we might see a tie game, or we might see the same score going into the third?
I don't think Carolina is a panic team by any stretch of the imagination. Rod Brindamore runs a real tight ship there. I think that you're going to see Carolina continue to play their game the way that they like to play it, at least in the second period, for sure, and probably most of the third if it's a close game as well.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see more of the same from Carolina in this period that you saw in the first, except that they got a little loose in their own end there at the end of the period. But I think it's interesting at this point. I think this is going to be a real test for the Flyers because, like we said, they didn't have a great period, but came away with a lead. And sometimes when you have that, you think that you're playing well enough.
Yeah, they got to be ready this period.
And I think they got to be a little bit more ready because this could go sideways on them quick. Yeah.
We have there it is. It's time to start the second period. We are going to be back for the second intermission and, of course, post-game. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, you subscribe on YouTube. You let friends, family, and other Flyers fans know. And now we're going to follow Bundy's lead, and we're going to get out of here. We'll see you in second intermission. Guard your ears. All right, we are here. The second intermission already. This game's just flown by, guys. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated second intermission show this side of the Mississippi. I'm Russ Joy, and SanFilippo over here, Anthony SanFilippo. Bundy, the big Butte over on the end. Don't forget, you can go pick up your Bundy Butte shirt over at shop.snowthegoalie.com. Let's get into it, guys. Flyers and Hurricanes tied 2 goals apiece. I'm pretty sure I threw out the possible scenario here that they'd be tied after 2. We all, just to recap, picked the Hurricanes to win this game. They did not look frantic. Anthony, I threw that to you in the first intermission about would they get frantic and open things up. You said no, they're going to stick to their system. They're going to play their game, and they did.
The game to me right now is all about possession, and the Hurricanes have dominated possession. And it starts in the faceoff circle, Bundy. They've won 75% of their draws in this game. So you win 3 out of 4 draws, and you have the puck coming off of the draw. I mean, and you're a good puck possession team to begin with. It's crazy. Like, I mean.
So yeah, I mean, and
that's
one of
where it is.
Yeah, and one of the big things is too when you talk about face-offs, people say, it's no big deal. It's hard enough repossessing a puck when you don't have it, and so if you get a free shot at it, it's essentially more or less a 50-50, right? You put your stick in there. To lose 3 out of 4 face-offs through 2 periods is unacceptable. That's a compete level problem, and knowing what a guy like Tortorella's like, that will make him crazy. A stat like that will make any coach crazy.
And look, Carolina only got the 1 goal in the period to tie the game at 2, but it was off of a lost draw. Scott Lawton loses the draw on the power play, and Carolina quick, one-touch pass, and boom, in the back of the net. Could Carter Hart have had that? Maybe. I mean, I think, you want your goalie to make that save sometimes, but you can't put it on the goalie. I mean, if you're losing that many draws, they're going to score. They're going to they're going to have opportunities to score the puck, and there was an example of it. I mean, it's just, to me, that's the game right now. It's all about possession.
And what's interesting is that there's a game to be won in the third period. I mean, the Flyers can come out and have a great third period, and you can forget about what went on. I mean, some of the good, some of the bad, some of the ugly in the first 2 periods, you can erase it with a really good third period. One thing the Flyers have not, you're seeing it here right now, the theme of the night so far has been power play. I mean, it's been bad. It's not even like they've had chances and it's been okay. It's been flat out awful. And they're going to have to figure, again, I don't know who's running it. This needs less. It needs shots from the point and traffic. And if the shot bounces off on a rebound and they get it and shoot it down, that's okay. Because what you're doing now is not working anyway.
Right.
So keep it simple. Do less. Less is more with this group on a power play. And go out and execute. That's it.
There was a moment on one of the power plays where Morgan Frost had a really nice pass across the face of goal, set up a good shot. But that was about it. Morgan Frost in that period, a lot of the same as we saw in the first, which is to say not a lot.
Yeah, it's hard to really kind of pin that on him. I mean, when you really look at it, you're not getting a lot of offensive opportunities from anybody. I mean, the power plays are their offensive opportunities, and they're not even getting good shots. They had, like you said, they had the one by Forster there on the pass by Frost, but that's really it. Yeah. But really, I mean, at 5-on-5, it's all Carolina. It's all Carolina. And there's nothing coming from the Flyers 5-on-5. I mean, they had the goals in the first period. One off of a turnover and one off of just a really nice shift by the fourth line, but that's it. You take that away. Bundy, I don't know what else you could say positive about their offensive game tonight.
Not a whole lot. I mean, they were halfway through the second period. The Flyers had only had 9 shots on goal. I'm not sure what they're at now, but they did. There, Russ is pulling up. But what it is, though, is that after the power play, they actually had a little bit of offensive momentum. Didn't have a lot going on the power play. Maybe had one chance or one opportunity, but they started to play a little bit better. And as you can see, 16 shots on goal. So they ended up getting 7 shots in the last 10 minutes of that period, because I looked at it and it was at 9. So that's a little bit better. But again, they're playing a game that Carolina wants them to play. Yep. And the Flyers are not set up to play a team like this. Carolina has had all the opportunities 5-on-5. And the Flyers need to stop turning the puck over in that part of the game.
It's one of the things that sets apart a good team, a borderline great team, and then a rebuilding team, is if you are a better team, a more skilled team, and a more disciplined team, you're able to play your style of game and not necessarily play down to your competition. So to your point, Carolina hasn't deferred from their game plan at all, and they've found success. Obviously, 40 minutes down, 20 to go. If things hold, you would have to assume that Carolina is going to break through again in the third. What can the Flyers do, other than like have the offense show up? What can the Flyers do to make this game more competitive in the third and give themselves a chance to pull out a win?
They have to. Well, they're not getting the puck in the offensive zone. They're spending a lot of time in their own end. I mean, Mike Butts pointed out, and Andrew just had it up. Only one giveaway in the second. That's a little better. Well, it is, but you got to have the puck to give it away, right? I mean, so that's part of the problem. Is they just didn't have the puck a lot. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of the game has been played in neutral zone and in their end.
Yeah.
And they're having a real hard time setting up or getting offense going in the offensive end. Look, they've got shots on goal, and some of them are on the power play, a few, but they're not great shots. You know, I mean, that's the thing. You're just not getting. They're not even getting the one and out kind of stuff. You know, it's just kind of like throwing it from a distance and let's go change the line and get back and play some defense.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And I got a question here from a defenseman that reminds me of myself on the team. I mean, there's similar guys. You know, I was a defensive guy. I'm never going to fool you and tell you I was somebody I wasn't. Played hard defense and took care of the zone, moved the puck when I could. So, yeah, again, you know, and I also played with Desjardins, right? Like, I mean, that's a hell of a good player to play with. And I always say that, you know. So, but you have to earn the right to play there. I think there's a couple of guys that could earn the right to play with a top player when that player gets here. And that will make them better players as well.
Cliff,
so
by
funny.
The way, was the guy who had the birthday on Saturday. He was up at a winery. Cliff, glad to see you made it
know
back.
the funny thing is about that question is in the middle of the period, I'm sitting here and Sanheim's on the ice, and I said to Bundy, I said, it's so weird looking at the burnt orange number 6 because it's from that era. And not think that it's you out there. Like, I mean, you see the newer uniforms, it doesn't really register to that era. But when you see these burnt orange ones, it's going to, getting used to them again. I see 6 on the ice, and that's the first thing I think is Bundy.
Yeah, and they're beautiful jerseys, that orange. I love that color. There's something about it. And it is weird when you see other guys like even the other guy wearing 37, Vilpidio.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of odd seeing that in a sense, but it is still like you see it and you're like, Desjardins.
Yeah,
because of the color of the
exactly.
jersey. Yeah, so it's kind of weird. Yeah, I agree.
Do we start the retire 6 movement here on So the Goalie?
No.
Get Bundy's jersey hanging up in the rafters? That would be the moment.
I think that only happens if you're going to the Hockey Hall of Fame, Russ, and I can safely say that ain't happening, pal.
Flyers Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's got a long way to go. You know what? I love the amount of players we had here, guys, during my era was just amazing. I think we lost video here, but I'm going to keep talking.
This is still working.
No, it's still working over there. For some reason,
Anthony's
I got
went.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's so many great players they've had here. And again, we'll have a great Hall of Fame celebration coming up in January. Stay tuned to that. We'll have a lot of news. Mark Recchi going in this year.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, it's some cool stuff. I love those burnt orange jerseys. Fans, let us know what you think of them, too, because I think they're just awesome.
Yeah.
There's something super cool about just seeing that color out there. I don't want to take a shot, but I didn't like that kind of that more
like the safety
modern
cone,
orange.
Safety cone orange that they had?
I didn't like that. It was like there's something about it. No offense,
agree.
but I just didn't care for it.
I agree 100%. I think you guys are back. There must have been some issue with the Wi-Fi, which is why we keep this hardwired in for the main.
Oh, here he goes. Here, Mr. Tech. Mr. Tech.
This is
why I want a hardwire.
Well,
because if we don't have the hardwire, it's going to go out on the Wi-Fi.
it makes sense to people who understand things. And then there's Anthony who just shows up.
I want to know when I gave Russ a freaking engagement ring. That's what I want to know. Because that's what it feels like every day.
You guys are like little brothers to me, both of you.
I appreciate that.
You guys are both younger than me, too.
Nah.
Well, Russ, you're more like a son, and Anthony's
That's right.
more like a stepbrother.
That's right.
You can make a movie.
Man, that's yo, hold on. I need somebody who's watching right now. We need Ant and Bundy on the Step Brothers poster. I want the
Halloween.
Dude,
Why did I say
Halloween's
that?
tomorrow. We should have to make room for activities. Somebody's got to have the skill out there. We got to do it. All right.
Where's your boy Corn Pop?
Yeah, he's the
Corn
master.
pop?
He's the master Photoshopper. I haven't heard from him in a while since I've started coming back.
You have
down
a guy
games.
named Corn Pop that photoshops pictures?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
How about that?
he shows up on Twitter. He spent like the better part of a year and a half complaining I hadn't been here, and now that I'm back down at games, he doesn't say anything anymore. It's weird. Weird how that happens. Very, very strange fascination.
I think these three guys sit really close to the TV at home.
What? Oh
The three dudes in front
There
of
are
us.
three guys. You guys can't even see this.
This guy's still very bravely wearing a Nolan Patrick jersey.
Yes, he is.
Do we have intern Andrew flip the camera?
Yeah, real quick, Andrew.
We might lose connection on the wires.
I don't want to lose anything. But
Anyway,
yeah, we
there's-
got a Nolan
there's-
Patrick jersey in the house.
There's like three young guys, and there's a wall of screens. If you come up to the sports book where we're at, I think intern Andrew's snapping a picture. We might put it up on the screen.
The thing is, it's
But-
funny though. It's not so much how close they are sitting. It's how far they are in front of the TVs.
They're like,
they're right.
They're like
Literally,
a foot.
They're like
maybe
so
a
close
foot.
to the television right now.
Anyway, this has been your dad report here. As hey, you're gonna lose your eyesight.
We're
sonny.
so much more than hockey here,
I know,
guys.
that's
Sometimes
exactly-
we got to just bring
Buddy,
the real
what was,
world
what
to
was
you.
the thing that one guy said at postgame a few days ago? Like, is it always so much patting yourselves on the back for a job well done?
He says, what is it, 85-15, 85, how much you guys love each other, and
Yeah.
then the other 15 hockey. I go, no, it's more like 65-35, but I
That's
get
right.
your point.
That's right.
Yeah. You know what? We have a lot of fun. And you know what? What is good up here, though, come up and see us.
Yeah.
Fans do. Some come up and hang out with us. They talk. If you're at the here up afterwards,
Yep.
post-game show. Some nights it's been buzzing up here.
Yep.
And it's been really a great place to kind of spend time
So,
and hang out.
two things. If we could pop up Sean's comment about the live organist. So, it says, I love the return of the live organist as well. So, the live organist
Yeah.
is right next to us, literally 10
on the
feet.
other side of this
Yeah, it's
wall.
on the other side of the wall that's right next to Russ. So he's right there. You can see him. And what we learned, we've been trying to figure out what the parameters are for coming up from downstairs. Turns out, that yes, if you say you're going to the sports book, you can come up from your seats downstairs. You're only allowed in the sports book section of the assembly room. You're not allowed on the other side where Revolutionary Row is.
Yeah.
That, you need a ticket to go on that side. But if you come on the side of the sports book where we are, you absolutely can come up and hang out with us for as long as you want, as long as you're in the sports book. So, yeah, absolutely.
In section 121, if you're all the way down, there's the elevator there. You can take that all the way up to the top. Come say, hey, we had people who were up here a little bit ago that were talking, and on Saturday as well, just like commenting on how different it is to watch the game from all the way up here. But you get to do it with
I know
with Bundy
Bundy's
too.
seen it. It's a pop up FedEx Pope.
I don't know when I'll be able to get to a game next. I hope in December.
and maybe it was not him. Oh, it was Mike Butts. It was one above it. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
here we go. Big difference with a live organist.
No.
What are you talking
the
about?
one above
Oh. Okay. Nope. I got it. I got it. I saw someone wearing a Jay Wells jersey last season.
Wells.
Who did I see? I saw one the other day. It was unbelievable. Like, I was like, oh, my God.
Did you play with Jay Wells?
No.
It was
I
before.
I played
before
against
you?
him, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, he was here in the early '90s. He was part of those lost years.
Yeah, the 5 years there of yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's a pull. But yeah.
This show has gone off the rails. Usually we're very far into the hockey talk, and I don't
the
know what
team
happened.
has not played well, Russ, in the second period. I don't
Do
know.
we just act like the game's not happening? This isn't an Anthony SanFilippo Twitter rant where he doesn't, update us on the fact the Phillies got their keisters kicked. All right? We talk about the sport, we talk about the game, we talk about the team, even if they're not performing.
Russell, what else would you like to talk about what we've watched through 40
Let's
minutes
talk
of
about
this,
Carter
of this
Hart.
game?
Let's talk about Carter Hart.
I just silent Bundy bombed. I didn't say anything. I just mouthed it.
I'm proud of you. Let's talk about Carter Hart.
Carter's been fine. I mean, he had made some big saves in the first period to kind of keep them in the game. But I sit there and I look at the two goals and I go, probably wants both of them back. Definitely the first one. I think the second one you probably look at and go, yeah, all right, I get it. I mean, it's a quick loss on the draw, and he's got to move laterally. But the goalie needs to make that save sometimes. And, I mean, it's not a bad goal per se, but it's also one you hope that your goalie makes for you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, we talked about it going in. It's a 2-2 hockey game. You can literally, this is what's great about the sport of hockey. You can dump the first two periods, forget about it, and go out and win the third.
Yeah.
That's what the Flyers have the opportunity to do. Now, the other side of that is Carolina's thinking the same thing. They're thinking the exact same thing. There's two teams on the ice. They're going to be competing. Carolina thinks they're turning the corner in their season, getting things revving the way that they expect it, and this will be a third period to dictate that for them. If you're the Flyers, Never lose 2 in a row. Come out and execute here. Keep it simple. Wait for turnovers. They'll be there with this Carolina defense, but at the same time, don't do the same thing we're asking Carolina to do. Flyers need to be precise with their execution, getting pucks out.
I'm going to go off the rails for a second again here.
I love it, please.
We were just talking about how great the orange jerseys are.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a jersey in the NHL that is absolutely awful.
Oh.
I was just watching a highlight of the Dallas Stars, and they're wearing those, what I call them black-like jerseys. They're solid black with that awful, I don't even want to say neon green.
Yeah.
Oh my God, are those jerseys bad?
Thoughts about the Edmonton unis last night?
They
looked like the
Classic
Rangers.
ones? They did. They didn't look like Edmonton.
No, they were Rangers jerseys with an oil thing on the front.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan. I like the Calgary ones a little bit.
Yep.
They were all right, but I didn't like. But those black Dallas Stars jerseys are terrible.
There's a question that got brought up here that I don't want to broach during the intermission show. We'll think about if we want to talk about it for postgame. It has to do with obviously the tragedy that happened that they had the moment of silence for before the game.
Adam Johnson.
So we don't want to do that in the midst of the game. We might talk about it on the regular show. It might be a very brief postgame discussion, but we want to make sure that we pay that the respect that it deserves if we have that conversation and not with the happy upbeat music kind of blaring in the background. So here's the question. We know that Carolina's going to play their style. The Flyers, you would assume, are going to try to open it up a bit in the third. They're playing at home.
They can't.
They cannot do that.
They can't.
I mean, they are who they are, right? Like they're.
Well, no. It's not about not being able to. It's that if they start opening, Carolina will take advantage.
Sure.
Of it. So they can't. That's why they can't. If they do, I think that they put themselves at risk. They have to continue to play Russ like it's. Sit back and don't make mistakes.
Yeah.
And try and take advantage of an opportunity if it presents itself.
You had them 3-2. Bundy had them 4-2, and I had them 4-3.
Yeah.
All of us took the Canes. Where does this finish, guys? Are you feeling okay about your score predictions, or no?
I do. I feel good about my prediction.
So you got
Carolina's been in this spot a lot more than the Flyers the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
They're the team that feels that they can come out and play the kind of game they want. The Flyers, this is a good early season opportunity against a good team at home for them to come out and execute properly and see what they can muster up here. Don't wait around for it. They're going to have to play hockey, but they can't play stupid hockey.
And with that, we're going to call it an end here to the intermission show. We will be back post-game. Bundy and I will be post-game. Anthony will be down below. We'll see if he gets a player interview. Will he get the Torts presser? Make sure you come back for post-game to find out. Remember, tell at least one other Flyers fan in your life about the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, first, second, intermission, and post-game show this side of the Mississippi. I'm Russ. That's Ant. That's Bundy. We'll talk to you soon. And, hey, guard your ears because this is loud. All right, so did that go how we thought it was going to go? Did it go differently than we thought? I have to say, Bundy, the most upsetting part of the game isn't the fact that the Flyers lost. It isn't the fact that they couldn't get the puck out of their zone in the last 2 minutes of regulation play. It's that Anthony SanFilippo now picks up 2 points in our unofficial predictions standings, which means we all got a point, but he got 2 for the correct score. So now Anthony has a 2-point lead for the season.
We couldn't get the goalie out, which was really rough. Like that's how you know your night's going the way it is. Yeah. And let me tell you, I'll just start out. People watch right to the very end, and I assume everybody did.
Yeah.
The problem the Flyers had tonight, especially in the last 2 minutes of that game, was Carolina kind of showed that they'd been there before. Yep. They'd been in the playoffs. They had a lot of players that had done that. And so, say a couple of guys hanging out with us, but they
a bunch of people.
Yeah,
a bunch of people.
A lot of people here. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
So, but the one thing that's what it was. So they kind of clamped down at the end. They won about 2-3 one-on-one battles that kept the puck in the Flyer zone. Then they just circled and cycled.
Yep.
And Philadelphia ran out of gas. So 5 players on the ice, they couldn't get it out. And by that time, they couldn't pull the goalie. Yeah. So they had no chance to get the goalie out of the net. It felt, it's one of those weird ones. Like it felt like that was kind of coming the whole game. I thought Hart did a great job early to give the Flyers an opportunity to stay in it. But by the third period, it's really, really hard, as we said, to play like that. And then they got pushed into their own zone a lot, I thought, in parts of the third. They did a little bit, did some good things, too. They weren't able to capitalize. They did have chances. It was kind of a freewheeling middle of that third period, I thought. A little bit too loose probably for each coach's liking of what they would like to see. Yep. But this is certainly, this is kind of a humbling loss, right? Like you hung in there, you're 3 minutes away from maybe getting to overtime and shortening it up and taking a shot at it, and just never happened. So that's a tough loss, and then losing it with 3 minutes left. By the way, the coverage on that goal was just awful. I mean,
horrendous.
Yeah, like
the third goal is so inexcusable on a number of levels, and I saw people going after Hart for that. That was not was not Carter Hart's fault.
So first of all, I think York needed to have a little bit better third than he did. He did not have a good third period. He was responsible for the battle in the corner. And then the puck came out. I mean, as a defenseman, the left defenseman in that case was Sanheim, and he's just got to feed out. Like, you can't just sit in front of the net. You got to feel where the danger comes from. And the danger was Therien in front of the net, out about 10 feet away from where he is. You got to be able to read both the plays. If there's a back door, if some guy slips around, but also make sure that shot can't get off. There's no way that shot can get off. And as a defenseman, it's your responsibility. It's that, and again, people make mistakes. You missed the coverage. But that is the left defenseman's job to get out on that guy. If there was a center available, sometimes you might get help from the center, but you can never rely on the forward coming in there and trying to bail you out. That's the defenseman's responsibility.
Is that something where it's just a feeling? I can only compare, I can compare this. Piss off everybody. Can compare this to soccer, where you don't want to lose a late runner, you don't want to lose somebody behind you. You can't allow someone to sneak in behind you. Is that a lack of just general awareness on the part of Travis Sanheim to not cover, to not be in position, or is it just a case where he just got sucked across and just lost track? I don't know what happened there.
Well, I mean, again, so what happens is that there's 5 guys down below the hash marks. Yeah. Everybody was down, and there was a loose puck that scored it out, and then the play was so the Therien and that just kind of leaked back out to the slot in the shooting position. Yeah. And the worst. So again, the Flyers are getting those situations we talk about, like don't run for hope for plays. Yep. That was kind of a hope for in a sense of getting the puck out. You got to come out with authority. And then that's where the cycle started. And that's where Carolina, and they can expose you because they are as good as any team in the NHL at making like those quick 3-4 foot passes under sticks, between skates. They're really good at it. I've watched them do it for a few years, going all the way back to playoffs. That's bad coverage on that goal. And it cost the Flyers a point in this game.
Yep. I want to get to the comments because, of course, as we know, not only is this the #1 rated postgame show this side of the Mississippi for the Philadelphia Flyers, but also it's the most interactive because we go to you, the fine folks who are checking in on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter.
It's essentially the fan show. It is in a lot of ways. The postgame especially.
We like to go to the fans the most with postgame. Yeah. Remember, if you're on Twitter, we love you, we care about you, we think you're fantastic, and you make us so warm and fuzzy. However, we can't pull your comments up on the screen. You have to go to YouTube or Facebook for that. Please go to YouTube and join us there and hit the thumbs up. But lots of comments here.
This one is an interesting one here.
America Witt, unforced turnovers. This one?
Yeah. The from
Pope.
FedEx Pope again. Yeah.
I wish Torts had pulled the goalie earlier to get an extra man.
Okay, so I'm going to say this. He had about 30 seconds to pull the goalies. The goal was scored with 3-something left in the third.
Yep.
The Flyers couldn't get it out of their own zone for 2 minutes. And ideally, a coach in a one-goal game wants to save about 90 seconds.
Yep.
Get the goalie out. You got about $1.15 to work with.
It was horrific.
They couldn't. I don't blame Torts at all. And you're sure not going to pull the goalie with 3:20 left on a brand new face-off. So there was nothing he could do about that. That's up to the players to get the puck out, make a play, get the red line, because you can't ice it again, or it's the same 5 guys.
Yep. This I think we can take to task to some extent. PSU Flyer says, good compete for 17 minutes in the third, then they gave up after the Canes goal. All right, so I don't know if I would say they gave up in the final 3 minutes, but they certainly looked, I almost cursed. We can't curse on the Press Row Show. We can on everything else. They looked bad. The last 2.5 minutes, the inability to break out of their own zone and maintain any semblance of possession in the Carolina end prevented you from being able to pull hard, prevented you from being able to use your home ice advantage, prevented you from being able to get pucks on the net and to actually have a chance to take this to overtime. I mean, they flat out blew it down the stretch.
They got caught in a bad defensive posturing position, and that play and that sequence cost the game at the end of the day. Right before that, Morgan Frost had a chance. I mean, there was a puck down low. I think, was it maybe Scotty Lawton have another opportunity? I think there was a great chance, too. They had a couple opportunities, and really you can't ask for more than that. Anderson made the save, and I thought Carter Hart, I'm not blaming him at all. I mean, there's no way. For anyone to blame him on that third goal, it's impossible. I mean, he's got to watch the side of the net and also now be vigilant and aware of their best goal scorer, one of them certainly in the high slot, uncontested. Yep. So that really is what happened. But I don't blame Hart. I thought he was great in this hockey game. I think he's been great all year, to be honest with you. And this is really, again, this is a tough stretch for the Flyers. We talked about it, but you got to find ways. They were in a game. They were in the game today. Like, they had a chance to get a point. Every point is so critical, especially early in the year, and you hate to see a team kind of lose their traction on the ice with late in a hockey game. Yeah. But you know what, Russ? We knew this.
Yeah, we did.
We've talked about this. So, there's a lot to be grateful for here and a lot that we look forward to. Yep. But we still have to understand what this group is. Yep. And, again, they got a home and home with Buffalo. Buffalo's a team that's been chasing standings for 20 years, it seems like. Yep. They finally got their stuff right. But that's an example of a team that struggled, an organization that hasn't drafted right, made bad trades, got the wrong players, and their rebuild maybe now with new people in, they're starting to turn the corner. But we got to remember who this team is nightly. When we get big wins and they treat us to a great effort, that's a bonus. Yep. This is a team. This is a team the GM said, it'll be up to the players to determine how far they go. But this is a rebuild. And we are doing that.
I do have news for the fine folks who are checking in. Stop what you're doing. Make sure you tell someone about the Press Row post-game show, because Anthony SanFilippo's down in the locker room right now. It looks as though he's going to be getting Owen Tippett.
Oh, good.
For a post-game interview.
Owen Tippett, again, I like him scoring today.
Yes.
Just from a feel-good standpoint, that's a good sign, because you want to see your goal scorers feeling good. And I think that's got him, is it two in the last 3 games or 2 in the last
I think so.
Yeah. So he 2 in the last 3.
He's looked better. The one thing that I think you can say about Owen Tippett pretty much across the board has been he has not given up. There have been times where he's obviously struggled to find the back of the net, but he never really looked like he lost himself, which is an easy thing to do as a young player.
Well, especially when you start trying to chase goals. Yeah. So instead of playing like that, you have to just be in a situation where you can still do other things. Getting pucks out, making sure, getting opportunities, creating chances, moving the puck, being a good player, on the forecheck. Those are all things you can control. How hard you compete every single night, and that may not come out on the sheet and the goal sheet, but it comes out to your coaches and your teammates understanding that it's not going in right now, but he's working and he's trying, and that goes a long way.
There are 2 guys that we were talking about up here during the third. with some of the people who came up to visit us. Remember, you go to section 121 and you ride the elevator up. We had a couple of guys up here who they took the stairs. Came up here huffing and puffing. It was really funny.
What the one dude says, like, man, I need to stop smoking 2
Yeah,
packs a day.
he was like, tell people that when they come up, just make sure they're not smokers because it's rough. Sanheim and York, not a great game. I'm at a point now where I watch York play, and I don't want to be overly negative. I don't want to be overly critical, but I watch him play, and I say there is no elite skill there. And it doesn't look like there's something that's like a budding elite skill. Like, for all of his flaws, you watch a guy like Morgan Frost, who, like, can disappear, but he had a play earlier in the game where you see him make a fantastic pass that, like, only one of a few guys on the ice could potentially make. Like, that's his elite skill. We know he has elite vision.
Mm-hmm.
York has not shown anything yet to this point, at least this season, that makes me think, that's the thing. That's the thing that you build on.
You know what? I tend to agree with some of that sentiment, Russ. But again, I'm going to say, give a defenseman some time. Yeah. It's tough. And again, I'm not sitting here throwing stones. I played this position. I tell people all the time, it's hard. I made mistakes, lots of them. I had to live with them, and that's the way it goes. Everybody did. Yep. Everybody that plays defense is. I don't care if you're Nicholas Lidstrom. He made mistakes too. The thing is with him, though, is I want to see him try to do a little bit more. I want to try to see him take a little bit bigger bite of the apple instead of just playing safe.
Yeah.
You know, safe will get you a little bit, but they're asking that pair, too, to do an awful lot. Yep. Like, Sanheim is playing the second most minutes in the league. He's not equipped to play the second most minutes in the league. He's not that kind of player. And York is his partner. Yep. He's a young guy. I mean, that's demanding so much from those two defensemen. One guy playing out of his slotted position, another guy being forced into playing second-year big minutes and make plays, and it's just not there right now. Sanheim, though, you know, before these 3 home games, he had a great thing going on.
He looked really good.
He did. He was great. So, you know, again,
you hope that he just rebounds. Like, you hope that this doesn't start a downward spiral. I mean, anything can happen, right? Michael Biglin checks in and says, I thought Zamula looked good with Walker. One thing I will say about Walker is he seems to be steady. He's a steady presence. I didn't know what to expect from Walker, and I certainly didn't expect him to be like a guy who jumps off the page, but like
steady Eddie.
Yeah,
it just doesn't do a whole lot, but doesn't hurt you either. You know, he's got he's got 2 goals.
Yep.
I mean, it's, you know, you ask anything you can get from a guy like that is a bonus, and you know what? He's a guy I haven't noticed him.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Yep. It looks like they're trying to get ready. I think they're about ready for us to throw it down to them. Anthony with Owen Tippett. I'm going to bring them on here.
Okay.
Quick, and we're gonna see. Let's throw it down to Anthony.
All righty. We're here with Owen Tippett here in the locker room. Owen, tough finish for you guys today. Nevertheless, you had a good third period there. What was working for you guys, I think, in the third period there that maybe in the first 2 periods you guys seemed to struggle to kind of get going?
Yeah, I think we didn't sit back. I mean, obviously 2-2 on home ice against a really good team that's, you know, always up the ice and, you know, pushing the play. And we didn't sit back. I think, you know, we were aggressive in all areas and trying to, you know, advance pucks forward. And, you know, it was a good hockey team over there. And, I think we can kind of learn from this and know that we can, you know, play with some of the better teams in the league. And we just have to stay aggressive and not sit back.
I'll ask you about another good thing first before I get to a tougher one. Your goal. Make a nice play, force the turnover, and then Coots feed you a nice pass. Just kind of take us through that one.
Yeah, I just hopped off and you know, saw their guy didn't have much room to go and picked off the pass and Coots made a good play going to that area and another good play going, kind of finding me in the slot. You know, I made the joke that, you know, you get all those chances and it's a curveball that goes in. So, you know, it's good and you know, you know, we're all starting to feel comfortable on that line and find each other's chemistry and stuff.
Is that one where the puck just comes off your stick weird and it just works in your favor there? It was a little bit of a knuckleball?
I think so. You know, it could roll up at any given second and, you know, it could go in the same spot, just not the speed you want it to. Good.
One of the things that's probably a difference in this game is the power play. You guys seem to really, you know, struggle to even really generate a lot of chances there. It's been a thing. It's been a point of contention, I think, for you guys to start the season. What needs to change, I think, a little bit from your perspective?
I think just the intensity. I think if we take it the way we are 5-on-5, and don't sit back and push pace, and not think about that we're one man up. So I think we just have to kind of be more intense on it, and make plays quicker and support each other a little bit better. But like I said, it's still early, and hopefully we can turn that around.
One final question. One of the things that you guys really made obvious early in this season when you're playing well is how together this room is and how much you guys like playing for each other. When you get two tough losses in a row like this, how do you think that comes back into play and can help you guys get out of it and not stretch it out to 3, 4, 5 games?
Yeah, I think it's tough when you lose one game, let alone two. But I think anytime you can kind of sit back and say, we were in the game for the most part, and it could have gone either way. It's a confidence booster, and we're still finding our way, and finding our identity and how we want to play. So I think if we stick to it and keep playing the way we can play, and not sit back and force teams' hands, it'll be good.
Great. That's Owen Tippett. Thanks for joining us here after the game.
And we're back. Look at that. Owen Tippett with Anthony SanFilippo.
Yeah.
Scored a goal tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly not a game that you walk away from him feeling anything but probably good for him. I mean, it's, you talk about as a young guy, the importance of being able to find the back of the net to kind of get yourself back on track. We kind of complimented him here at the start of pregame about the fact that he hasn't lost himself as he's been trying to rediscover his scoring touch, and he's gotten a couple of goals over the last few games. Certainly has to be something that you feel like you can build on if you're him. And if you're Torts, it has to feel good to know that you have another one of these guys that performed well last year. It should not be forgotten that Tippett had a strong season last year and that he was a guy who built up a lot of equity with Torts because he was a go-after-it every shift kind of player last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of guy that Tortorella's looking for. So, you talk about building that kind of equity, gaining what's the phrase that you use, like gaining
money
stock,
in the bank.
money in the bank.
Yeah, equity. Yeah.
And so it's good to at least see him performing. And when you think about what this was, it's a loss to a better team, a better Carolina team. You look for small wins, and if Owen Tippett finding himself and finding that scoring touch and getting rewarded, even though it's in a loss, that has to be one good positive takeaway for this game.
I think so, because you can think positively that your goal scoring is going to pick up with guys feeling it a little bit. And that is a thing. When goal scorers are feeling it, you always believe they're going to continue scoring goals. So it is a positive sign. And Owen Tippett, pretty straightforward there. He came a long way last year. Right? A lot of people second-guessing the trade when he came in from Florida for the Drew in the Drew trade. And, he's done a really good job. I mean, he's found his scoring niche. I mean, you can't when you think about the fact that they got a first-round pick and then they tossed him in with the package. I tell you what, it's a good move. And that was a Chuck move, too, so... yeah, I mean, I guess... Who? Who? But, yeah, you remember, please don't speak that name. The name. What's how they say it in that show there?
He who must not be named.
That's
Harry Potter.
That would be.
Harry Potter
that.
must never go to Hogwarts.
So that's, but that, but he's a big part of the team. You get a guy who can score goals like that. Maybe someone who's got upside of scoring, trying to get 40 goals. Yeah. He had a good year last year, so I'm always looking for the positives of a player like that. It's a good guy, good teammate, and he's well liked down there, and I hope he continues.
Listen, I'll give Fletcher more credit for this one. Like, Tippett was a guy, all things considered, when you had the former captain of the team kind of go about getting traded the way that he did and limiting the former president and GM of hockey ops to having to do business with one team, Tippett was a guy who the rap on him was he didn't develop into the guy that Florida thought he could be, and they were kind of like ready to give up on him. And listen, you have to give credit where it's due. Tippett, I think, is a good player that you can look forward to as a guy that will be on this team as they kind of start to develop into what they hope to be. And he's got the right mindset. He has the kind of mindset that Torts is looking for. So there's that. Somebody goes, the only good move by that guy. Let's see. There are a lot of questions, comments, and concerns here. We can touch on something that there are some people asking about. I think now is probably a good time to do it. Now that things have kind of quieted down in here. There was a really tragic event that happened over the weekend.
Beyond tragic, yeah. I mean,
a senseless. Some are calling it a freak accident. You went on Twitter today and said that you don't believe that it looked like a freak accident.
I don't.
Not that it was an intentional.
Well, I said
result,
it looked intentional, but I certainly, when I said, didn't mean that the guy intentionally tried to go to the kid's throat. But I mean, okay, I reached out after Russ to about 6 or 7 former teammates. Some of them national broadcasters, some of them big-time brass coaches. Not one of them said, Bundy, you're not 1,000% right.
Yeah.
Every one of them. And why one guy?
Do you have that tweet? We can read what you put up, or
I said after seeing the incident involving Adam Johnson, that Bush League needs to shut down for investigation immediately. I was literally appalled and sickened by what I saw. It looked intentional. It was a kung fu kick. My eyes are not lying. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And again, it was so beyond reckless, so beyond disturbing that you could put somebody in that type of a situation in a game that we play as kids is just pathetic.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of people defending. I just don't know. I've never seen anything like this. And there's a couple of players I read on Twitter where they were saying, like, oh, it wasn't intentional. I don't know how else you could say it. Yeah. I had guys saying, yeah, it was a kick. It was a roundhouse kick.
Yeah.
So, again, I mean, my heart pours out to that young man's family. Yep. I don't know what the perpetrator or, the guy who caused the incident, I don't know anything at all, but I just saw that and I could, nobody put it out for 2 days, right? And it seemed like last night, early this morning,
is when
the videos were coming in.
Yeah.
I was sick watching it. And there's other guys like in hockey. I had to watch it 1 or 2 times. Like guys that played 25 years ago, we saw a lot of crazy stuff.
Yep.
It was just so devastatingly disappointing to see that in a game, and I'm just absolutely crushed to see it.
It's a hard thing to talk about. I think the thing that is the most upsetting about it is there's no way to have like an honest level of discourse about it, because the way that it has kind of caught fire on Twitter isn't actually assessing the play. It's there's a camp that seems to believe that it was a freak accident. There's a camp that believes that it was an intentional swipe of some sort. I don't think there's anybody arguing that the intent was to cause the injury.
Of course, and that may be said, but the kick was intent. Like there was intent on that.
So, but this is also kind of morphed into this weird thing where you get people saying, "Well, is there a reason that people are going after this guy?" And you can look at it and say, "Well, he has a very recent history of
his rap sheet?
Of spearing players, of getting kicked out of 2 of the last 4 games, 71 penalty minutes in the last 11 games. Like it's not as if the guy who causes horrible injury, this death,
all right,
it's not as if he had like a clean history. It is a problem, and unfortunately, there are times you watch players and you say, you just like this doesn't belong. That kind of play does not belong.
Russ, I had an incident in the league. Fans know about it. I accidentally took a slap shot, and I almost killed the guy on the ice in Montreal. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think I was ever really the same again after that. I wasn't. And I've told people that. I used to tell my dad, I couldn't believe that somebody could possibly die. I said in a kid's game. I took a slap shot, hit Trent McCleary in the throat. It crushed his entire throat area, larynx. They had to give him that emergency trach on the ice as they took him off. That was devastating. So I've been through that. And then to see the recklessness and the insanity with that play. And I'm sorry, I can't allow people to make excuses for it.
Yeah.
I just can't. A young man lost his life in a game. And if the kid wasn't qualified or didn't have the ability to skate properly, then he shouldn't have been playing in that league.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yep.
Horrible, horrible, horrible to see that.
Now, there were questions in the comments, and it's something that I think people have continued to ask is if there's going to be like an actual investigation into it, if there could be charges coming. Remember, it happened across the pond. It happened in the UK. The courts are very different. The entire process of, going and like what the burden of proof and everything, it's vastly different. We'll keep people updated. But all you can really do now is send your thoughts, your prayers and everything to his family. And I will say, regardless of what intent was, the other player, no intent for something like that to happen. That's going to haunt him for the rest of his life, knowing that.
There'd be no doubt.
Yeah,
I mean, but
so
anyway.
I don't want to end on a downer.
No, I
but here
didn't.
we go.
I want to explain it.
It needed to get talked
But
about.
there's it shouldn't be as polarizing as it is.
Yeah.
Which is just I'm telling you, I've called good people and they're like, dude, I had one teammate say I watched it 100 times. It got worse every time.
Yeah.
That was a former longtime NHL teammate. And it was in text. He's like, dude, every time I watch it, nothing got better. Yeah. It looked just as malicious as anything you're ever going to see.
I don't recommend people go watch it.
I didn't post the video. I just made it. I was unbelievable. I could never.
There are some videos that are going around that are about 5 seconds where it shows the foot coming up, and then that's where it cuts off the video, so you don't see any of the graphic. But yeah, I think everybody's going to have their own interpretation of it. But we wanted to make sure that we touched on it. We have this game coming up on Wednesday, and it's hard to kind of find the line because when we're doing pregame and intermissions, it's not really the place. And with us trying to figure out 3 games this week of when we're going to do like the actual show, we wanted to make sure that we talked about it just in case we don't get to a regular episode this week. So, big thank you to everybody who, joined us for today's show. The Flyers are back at it on Wednesday. Anthony is back up here yucking it up.
Yep.
As he is wont to do.
We will be back on Wednesday,
we will be.
7 o'clock game. Russ, that's 7 or 7:30?
Oh, that's what I'm pulling up right now because I think Saturday's a 7:30 game, but I could be wrong. No, Wednesday is a 7 o'clock game. They'll be welcoming the Buffalo Sabres to town. And then on Friday, they're back at Buffalo, but they're coming back here to Wells Fargo Center. Saturday night, 7:30. Saturday night, 7:30 against the Kings. And it's like Elton John once said, Saturday night's all right for fighting.
That's right.
So anyway, hey, I know that Halloween is tomorrow.
Happy Halloween, everybody, to all our listeners.
Are you gonna dress up for Halloween? Do you give out candy? I want to know.
You're going to ask me if I like dark and everything and shut the lights
off?
I
want to know.
No,
like,
I answer the door. I've answered for many years. I've answered the door. I know I don't sit on the driveway. If you want to come get candy at my house, or are you like one of those kids? I bet where you leave the candy. You're like, hey, just grab one. Because I would go with my pillowcase when I was like 9, and I would just dump the whole thing into my pillowcase. First neighbor.
See, it
was gone by 6:30 at night.
Yep. You know what I'm gonna do?
What?
I'm gonna put the fire pit in the driveway. We always do the big fire.
Oh, nice.
Big fire, and we give out full-size candy bars. This has been like a tradition since we moved to our new neighborhood a few years ago. I'll tell you what, though. I don't know if it's gonna happen again next year. Costco. For the 30 full-size candy bars, it's like $22. And that's on discount. Okay.
That's good, Russ.
Listen, you can believe in inflation or not, or Bidenomics or Trumponomics or whatevernomics. Stuff's expensive. Spend like $100 or $125 on candy for Halloween.
You're a good man,
Russ. Those kids better appreciate it, let me tell you.
You're a good kid.
Thanks, Bundy. I appreciate it. Everybody, I hope you have a happy Halloween out there. I hope if you dress up like Bundy, for Halloween, please make sure you tweet it at Snow the Goalie.
Make sure you wear your reflectors.
There you go. H says he's going as Bundy.
Oh, that's beautiful.
How about that?
Wear your reflectors, all right?
That's right. Make sure that you can be seen. Make sure you're visible, okay? And everybody have a safe trick-or-treat out there. And we will be back. And I'm going to go to the outro now, which is very loud, and I can't control that right now, but we're going to work on it for Wednesday night. So everybody have a great night out there. Thanks again for checking in on the Press Row Show. Talk to you Wednesday.